Let's see if we can rank some Daniel Craig James Bond movies. So, now that I watched Spectre, I've seen all 5 Daniel Craig Bond films, and I thought to myself, why not just rank them all? I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a walkthrough through all 5 movies, rank them from worst to best, and give a couple of reasons as to why. If I can get through it without coughing too much, well then, great. If not, well, this might be a shorter segment than I intended, unfortunately. Alright, so coming in at number 5, no surprise here, is going to be Quantum of Solace. I'll sum it up to this. Quantum of Solace, I think it's the worst of the Daniel Craig Bond movies, although it's not a bad movie. I think it's a little bit too convoluted for my liking, gets a little confusing, and it makes it really hard to follow the revenge tale that the movie is trying to spin. Having said that, the action is quite stellar as it is in all of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. His tie-ins and his relationship with some of the characters like Mathis and also Dominique are very endearing, and Judi Dench's M does a really great job to supplement the movie as well. Plus, Quantum of Solace does something that's very difficult to do, having multiple antagonists and successfully integrating them into the movie without making it feel too overcrowded. So Quantum of Solace, it's a good movie, although it's my least favorite of the Daniel Craig Bond films. That's why it's coming at number 5. Coming in at number 4 for me is going to be Skyfall. Skyfall is a very, very popular Bond film. In fact, made over $1 billion worldwide. Critics and audiences across the board seem to absolutely love it. Me, I'm not as bullish on it, I think, as a lot of people are. For me, the biggest problem is its pacing. It spends about the first half of the movie trying to get James Bond up to speed, and it doesn't really spend much time on really an objective. It's kind of meandering around. It feels like it's waiting for itself to hurry up, which is very, very strange. In fact, if I had to kind of sum it up, I almost feel like they could have split Skyfall into 2 different Daniel Craig Bond films. One in which James Bond gets out of commission and has to recover, and the other in which he pursues Javier Bardem's villain, which I can't remember his name in the film right now. It just felt like something didn't quite add up in Skyfall, and I thought the introduction of Ralph Fiennes wasn't great in the movie as well. It's just, I think Skyfall could have been executed a lot better, and it was just missing a lot of things in that regard. However, having said that, again, the action across the board in Skyfall is pretty great. Bond's promiscuous nature again shines through. The relationship that he has with M as Judi Dench is pretty excellent, and you really get a deep dive into who Bond is as a character, and also Judi Dench as M a lot more, which is something that a lot of the Bond films fails to do, and I think that's one area where Skyfall's script executes most successful. So Skyfall, I think it's still a pretty good movie. It's just I'm not as high on it as a lot of people are. That's why it's coming in at number 4 for me. And then coming at number 3 is Spectre. Spectre to me I had low expectations going to it. It far exceeded my expectations. It is a level above good. It is, dare say, somewhere between great and amazing. Again, killer action. It's got Daniel Craig as the bruising Bond that we've all come to know and love. Or if you've never seen any other Bond movies and you're watching him for the first time, he does a great job. It's a great introduction to the character. There are some intriguing ideas that are proposed. The movie's very seductive in both an intellectual and sexuality nature. The action set pieces are creative and different, I think, is where this movie shines in its brightest. The villain in Blofeld is a great villain. I think that's one area where it shines better than it did in Skyfall or Quantum of Solace. However, Blofeld just wasn't in it enough for me to really elevate his role. The drawback for me was the fact that Hanks has pretty much no dialogue, and it just made him feel really awkward and out of place. The biggest pro of the movie for me was the fact that Daniel Craig, Ralph Fiennes, Benoit Shaw, all 3 of their performances on screen together or apart really elevated the movie. Ralph Fiennes was this is where he came into his own as M. He was a really great counteraction to Daniel Craig's Bond. Whenever Bond wasn't on screen, Ralph Fiennes really carried a lot of the scenes he was in. Plus, the chemistry between Benoit Shaw and Daniel Craig in the movie I thought was excellent. It provided some great comic relief where we needed it most, and it didn't distract from the movie at all, much like the selective elements of the film that aren't gratuitous. They are all there for a purpose. It makes the movie feel very meaningful, very fresh. Spectre is extremely well paced. The fact that it's got a 2.5 hour runtime and it only feels like 2 hours, I think, is a really big plus for me personally. So for those reasons, Spectre comes in at number 3. And then at number 2, which is the most recent of the Bond films, No Time to Die. I actually had to rewatch my own review of No Time to Die that I did way back in October, which I cannot believe it's getting close to 9 months since then already. But No Time to Die, I'm going to say this about every Bond film because it's just the reality. The action was superb. And what really made this movie higher above the rest of them for me was the fact that it did a great job of having a lot of characters who were excellent additives to the movie. I mean, you could argue there are like 6 or 7 protagonists in the movie, and all of them have their place within this film and never make it feel too overcrowded. They're all there for a purpose. They're all there to provide their own unique charisma, DNA, and they do so successfully. We get a very interesting relationship dynamic between Bond and Madeline as characters. Some new pieces get introduced, and you get to see a new side of Bond that you haven't quite seen before. This is the longest Bond film of the 5 at 2 hours 43 minutes, I believe was the runtime. This is another example of an almost 3-hour movie only feeling like 2. And that's extremely impressive given how long this movie is, that it can pace itself so well that you're having fun literally at all times. You're entertained at all times. The action comes at all times. The plot is moving forward at all times. And you're never quite getting bored. And of course, we get Daniel Craig at his best, or at nearly his best, in No Time to Die. And it makes it really, really a wonderful experience, and one that's just really well balanced, doesn't drag on at all, and is pretty compelling, in my opinion. Now, the worst part, again, about this movie, which is a really big con in a lot of the Daniel Craig era Bond films, is the fact that the villain I just didn't think was really all that great. Rami Malek, I didn't necessarily have a problem with him as the villain. It's just the villain's objective, I'm just kind of like, do I really buy into it? I don't think it's a poor objective. I don't think the rationale is poor. It just didn't resonate with me. The villain just wasn't for me, and it just isn't a huge surprise given the track record of my opinion on the Daniel Craig Bond era films. That leaves us with number 1, in my opinion, which is Casino Royale. Casino Royale, dare I say, it is a borderline masterpiece. This was the introduction of Daniel Craig as Bond, and my God, did his era start with a bang. This was the most crass, the most brutal Bond and Bond film that I have ever seen, and I really, really dug it. I think it really fit well into the context of the film. It was supplemented very, very well and introducing a love interest, to which the Bond movies don't always do a great job of doing, but you really buy into the love between Vesper and Bond throughout the movie, and it really elevates the experience. It really brings out some behavior in Vesper as a character that you wouldn't expect. It's shocking. It surprises you at every turn, and the brutality of it all really elevates the believability of the entire experience. This Bond movie does what many others seem to have failed to have done in the Daniel Craig era, which is to have one of the best villains in cinema in Le Chiffre, played by Mads Mikkelsen. This was actually one of the first introductions of Mads Mikkelsen that I can think about as well. Mads Mikkelsen absolutely crushes it. He is a man that is of his own pain. He's got his own problems. He's not invincible, but by God, he is sinister, and he will do what he has to do for his own circumstances and stakes as well. And the movie really gets you to buy into and to understand him as a character. That movie is just incredible. Casino Royale is definitely the clear winner in my list of Daniel Craig Bond films, and for all of those reasons, can you blame me, really? That is my ranking of the Daniel Craig era Bond films. What do you think of my ranking? What is your own ranking? What would you change in the list? Whatever you guys think, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Friends, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, I love you. If this video was valuable to you, please consider liking it so people just like you are able to find it. And if you want to see more James Bond videos from the channel, links to my reviews of the aforementioned Bond films are down in the description below for your viewing pleasure. And as always, have a great day.